things that I would want to improve on. Kind of like you brought up earlier, the focal length of performance. I want to know, like, I want to know where where I should put the limit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good word for it, but
No, that's true.
and then let's see, relating my own experiences to like a character. I've always felt like I'm really good at relating my experiences, but I don't do much other than, occasional hang out with friends.
Right.
But the last thing is I'm completely new to this. I've never acted before, but it's always been something I wanted to try. So
yeah.
So there's a lot I have to learn.
Well, actually, there's a lot that we all have to learn. And to be honest, the process never ends. You're going to learn for years and years. You'll make new discoveries because the journey of an artist is continuous. There's no real end game. But awesome. The advantage of not having a background in acting in stage is that you're going to be more naturalistic off the bat. You're going to be more just like you, versus feeling that I have to act a certain way, you're just going to be real and authentic. So the things to learn, of course, is how do we adjust our performance based on the framing of the camera? How can we cry on command? How can we get angry on command? How can we listen in such a way that our listening is more interesting to watch than when we're talking? That's the thing, using our imagination to create characters and the behavior of the characters. Because in acting, you're always going to start with yourself first, because that's the blueprint, your life experiences, or how you feel and think about certain issues. That's going to inform you. But then you build upon that. How does the character move in space? How does the character sound? Again, where the voice is centered. What is the character, as I mentioned before, what is the character's biography? What is the character's wants and needs and drives? So, that's our job. Overall, I would say the artist or actor's job is to show the human condition in its many forms. So that's what we need to do. And, there's nothing better than hearing that if, let's say you play a character and it's a difficult, challenging role. I played a character that was raped, and, I got all this like fan mail. I know it sounds weird to say fan mail, but from women who said, thank you so much for, showing what the character was going through and being courageous and resilient. It made me feel that I could be that way too. So it's a big responsibility. What we do can be a big responsibility in terms of how we portray a character and the choices we make for the character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's other things that are not, the soap I did that is still playing in Russia now. They call my character Queen Susan, as I may have mentioned before, which is hysterical to me. But anyhow, so we can entertain, we can distract, but our job is really to create these three-dimensional people that are not ourselves. We can start with ourselves, and yes, in TV and film, you're going to be cast close to self in terms of your energy and your personality and your presence. So if you are you're confident and you're enthusiastic, you're going to play a character like that more than someone who's very withdrawn, right? Yeah. That's just how they're going to cast you. That's the process. But our job is to be able to play a wide variety of roles. And I like how a lot of you want to be challenged. So we will definitely do that in this class. The anxiety thing is really interesting to me because I find, no offense to your generation, but I find you guys are way more anxious than I was at your age. And it was, obviously it was, centuries ago, but, I don't know if it has to do with social media or if it has to do with the expectations that you succeed right away or that you have to have this magnificent life. I don't know what it is, but auditions really shouldn't make you anxious. You should look at auditions as an opportunity for you to share what you love to do. You're giving the people who are auditioning you, you're giving them the gift of you. the gift of your interpretation of the character. And if you reach a point where it can be fun and enjoyable, that's kind of where we want to get to. Now, obviously, it's completely natural to be anxious. I remember the first time I taught my very first class that I taught at Cal State Long Beach. I had 56 students in the class, and they were non-majors. And I literally felt like there was a cotton ball on my tongue. And I thought that all the words coming out of my mouth were garbled, you know, unintelligible, because I like had an anxiety attack, and I'd never had that before. So I do know how debilitating anxiety can be, but if we can use that energy, the anxious energy, to make it, turn it into a feeling of excitement and expectation and joy, because you love to act. And there's nothing better. When I audition people, because I've directed and produced too, when I audition people, if I see someone who really loves acting, loves the process, I give them a callback, even if they're not right for the part, just because, you know, it's such a gift. So let's see what else. Yeah, acting methodology, and then casting process, and then we will move on. All right, so I'm sure I could do this the other way. Stanislavski, there we go. He is the father of acting theory. He started the Moscow Art Theater in 1898, and he was very much about observation, active listening, creating behavior of the character. How does the character, as I mentioned before, move through space? How does the character sound? What's the psychology of the character? What is the socioeconomic background of the character? So it all started with Stanislavski. The next, you had Michael Chekhov, studied with Stanislavski, but then he left. He left Russia to go to Hollywood so that he could coach actors to be more natural and believable on camera. Michael Chekhov believes that your mind and your heart and your body should be integrated as one. Creative imagination is essential, but the harmony between your mind and your body is very much Michael Chekhov. A lot of the graduate school programs in the United States use the Chekhov technique. Again, because it's about using your imagination, your body, your mind, radiating energy, taking in energy that's being radiated out to you. That's the philosophy behind it. Okay, next. Now, here's my bête noire, Strasbourg. Strasbourg bastardized Stanislavski as far as I'm concerned. Strasbourg started the group theater in 1931, and he really believed that people should use their subconscious and their emotional angst, all the things bottled up inside them, all the most horrible things that happened to them in their lives. They should use those memories to fuel emotional connection and choices as an actor. Strasbourg was very much about being the character. And look, on film and television, you want to be the character. You don't want to show the character as you would on stage in a live performance. But Strasbourg said, you know, pull up a memory of like when your grandmother died in front of you, you know. And it was very much about digging deep into things that I don't think it's necessary to do that. You can use emotional recall if you need to click into a difficult emotional state of being, but you don't need to go so deeply that you can't get out. And a lot of followers of Strasbourg don't know how to get out of the deep hole or the bottom of the well once they start to use a really traumatic event in their lives to fuel a character that they're playing. So I'm really not, I'm against Strasbourg's methodology. They call it the method. And I'm really, I don't think it's necessary. I think that you can get, if I'm playing a character whose son is kidnapped, I can use my imagination and I can understand the sense of loss and the anxiety and the fear. I don't need to think about something traumatic that happened to me in order to elicit that response. You can have full belief in the character without having to go there. So, Stella Adler, 1949, the Stella Adler Studios up in LA. They have really great classes. And Stella Adler was about the human experience. She said that everybody who's a human being, it's in their DNA, their understanding, their empathy, their compassion. Everybody understands loss. Everybody understands joy. Everybody understands those universal emotions. So it should be easy for us to just recall that because we're wired that way. Truthful behavior, self-awareness, imagination, knowing the history. For example, if you're playing a character in the 18th century, then know something about the history of that time period. Know what the position of, the socioeconomic differences between the classes. Know, I mean, for the ladies, what's it like wearing a corset? How does that change how you move? How does it make you feel repressed? I mean, what does it do to you? So that's Stella Adler. And I like Stella Adler because she does incorporate the history as part of the template for creating a character. How many of you studied with Bill? Yeah, okay. So then you're familiar with Meisner. So Sanford Meyerson, I met with him every time he came. He's no longer with us, of course, but he was really good friends with my agent. And whenever he came to LA, he would stay with my agent and I would go over and have dinner with him. The sweetest, sweetest, nicest man. And his philosophy is that acting is the reality of doing. So basically, you just have to be the character washing the dishes, be the character getting in the car. It's the reality of doing. The repetition that repetition exercises, which we'll do for warm up in class at some point, is really about getting out of your own head and really being receptive to the other person. So letting something happen without, I think what happens sometimes with the repetition exercise is a person tries to make something happen instead of just allowing the other person to be and allowing yourself to just be in the moment. Being in the moment, to me, is the most truthful way to go in terms of film. Because if I'm just taking what the other person is sending me, I may have to adjust some of the choices I made, but I am more engaged and more truthful if I'm genuinely just taking the other person in and responding to them. The given circumstances are important also for Meisner because that's the foundation of the character's emotional life, and being truthful in imaginary circumstances. So let's say you have to play, like if I have to play a waitress who works in a diner in the South, how am I going to move? Am I going to make that fried chicken today? I don't know. But nobody likes my fried chicken. So, what am I going to do to sort of get into that character's head and mind? What are the choices I'm going to make?